Me again. So, today was not a coaching call, but it was a conversation that I had with a friend of mine. And there was something we talked about that, of course, is worth sharing with you and worth all of us listening to and thinking about. And it's about driving the car that we're in. And I mean that metaphorically, not literally. Because what I'm about to suggest, if you do this in a car you're driving, not going to be so great. So, what I wanted to share is we really struggle as people with letting the universe play its part. We really do struggle with this because we're conditioned by our experiences, by our families, by our cultures, by our education system. We are conditioned to make a plan and follow it through. And I am not saying that making plans and following them through is not something that will work for you. But when we do it so precisely, that we don't allow ourselves to see any signs along the way or any messages along the way that say, hey, I know you want to go this way, but there's this little detour here that'll actually make your ultimate goal more fruitful, help you get there faster, right? Something that'll make it better. The things that we come up with, the things that we create in our minds, in our energy, in our spirits, can always be tweaked to be better. But that tweaking doesn't necessarily have to come from us, right? We are always about self improvement, we're always about growth. And that's wonderful. But what I want you to pay attention to is there are millions, probably billions of cooperative components swirling throughout our world, our planet, our galaxy, our universe that are aligned and designed to help you get what you're trying to get to, which is the experiences, the goals you want to make, right? The people you want to meet, the things you want to create. There are millions of cooperative components in the world available to you that your actions around deep precision, this is what I want. I want to get from point A to point B, and I'm going to do that with these exact steps. When you are that focused in, you make no space for what's in the periphery that are just gems you can grab or that will make themselves known to you, right? You don't even have to look for them. They're gems that are floating around that could just add a little bit of help to what you're trying to do, or just make an introduction to a person who will allow you to skip several steps on the path that you laid out for yourself. So I want you to think about that. I actually want to give you an example. Let me think if I could think of a good example. That's a story that won't take me 10,000 years to tell. Um, Let me see. Everyone I'm coming up with is going to take quite a bit of time for me to share it with you. Oh, okay. Here's a quick one. So when I decided that I no longer wanted to live in New York City, it was multiple years ago. But my children were of an age where they were like about to enter high school. And both of them were like, we don't really want to start high school in a different place, right? This is our neighborhood, our community. This is what we know. High school's difficult enough. Mom, can we just stay here long enough to finish high school? We'll go off to college and you could go wherever you want. So I agreed. So now, as we were approaching the final year of my youngest son's high school experience, when he was a senior in high school, right? His final year, I started thinking, okay, I'm almost at the finish line where I can actually move to wherever I want to go. And what I knew, I had already known that I was pretty sure that where I wanted to go was North Carolina. I wasn't 100% sure, but that was pretty much the only place that felt like a good next move for me, right? I didn't eliminate the idea that there could be other places, but at that time, there was no other place that I knew of. And so I was like, okay, let me start, fantasizing in my mind about what part of North Carolina and what my place would look like. And I just started fantasizing out loud. I didn't actually start making plans, okay? And so I thought to myself, I'll get my youngest off and settled into college. And once his first year is really rolling through, I'll start thinking about making plans about where I want to be. But first, the thing I could do, which will take up no space in my brain, is to really envision what life in North Carolina will look like and feel like. And when I say look like and feel like, I don't mean what kind of job will I have, right? But I meant like, what will I see when I look out the windows, right? What will my sofa look like or my bedroom look like? Will I be in a house, right, where there's, a yard in the back, or will I be in an apartment and will that be in like a city area in North Carolina? Will it be more of a country area in North Carolina? Just fantasizing in those ways, right? I wasn't thinking like any dates, time frames, deadlines, nothing. I was just saying I can start kind of free dreaming because my son's almost in college. So, um, I kind of thought to myself, I do recall when my son started his senior year, I thought to myself, this coming summer, when he's out of high school, it would be nice to like go with my boys down to North Carolina just to visit, as sort of like a summer vacation, just to get a feel for it for me and spend some time with the two of them before both of my kids are off to college. And what happens? In March of 2020, pandemic. And so the pandemic shut us down, as you know. I was living in New York City with my sons, and very quickly, like within a week and a half, I realized the members of my family are not going to fare well here. And so I reached out to one relative that I didn't even know very well to see if we could come and spend a couple of weeks in North Carolina with the relative that I had who lived in North Carolina. And that relative said yes, which was amazing because it was a number of us. And we came, and I thought we'll come down for a couple of weeks. This will be over, and then we can go back, and then I can start really, really planning. Well, it turned out that we ended up spending months, because, as you know, the pandemic wasn't over in a few weeks. And in that time, when I brought my family with me, right, my mom, my sister, my nieces, my family, we all came down. And in that time that we stayed in North Carolina, quite temporarily, um, the universe showed me, but also showed my family how suitable the environment in North Carolina was for each of us as individuals, which was a gift for me because in my thinking, the whole time up until this point, I was thinking, I'm going to go to North Carolina. No one else in my family has plans to do so. And while I'm close to them and I love them, it's not a long flight to get home. And I can get back home to New York for anything I really need to be there for. And yes, I'll miss my family and kind of being able to like drive over or walk over to their homes at a whim. I still know that this is where I need to be. And so the universe, cooperative components always floating in the periphery of our plans. The universe actually gave my family the opportunity to figure out for themselves that this was a great next step for them too. And so slowly but surely, following the pandemic, my family started moving to North Carolina, all of us to the same area. So my plan to be in North Carolina was sure. I was sure of that. And I was sure that it was going to happen after my youngest son finished high school. What I didn't know is that it could be much bigger and much better than what I was thinking was possible, which was I would move down here, my family would visit sometimes and have a great time, and I would go home for the things that I needed to go home for. I had no idea that my family was going to be convinced without my energy, without my request, by the universe and by the experience that the universe provided them, that my family was going to be convinced to move too. So now all the closest people to me and my family live in a very close proximity of me in North Carolina. And since then, we've all separately had friends from different parts of our lives and in different parts of the country come and visit us. And one, two, four of them so far have moved their families here. So now our familiar community that existed, my familiar community that existed before I left New York, is now starting to form here. And each of those people, families, groups, individuals, they're all finding their own footing and joy, and next juicier part of life here. And so it makes me wonder, and I want you to think about this, right? I had no control over the pandemic. I had no control over any member of my family making a decision to move to a part of the country that I wanted to be in. Um, but I knew it was right for me. And I loosely made plans because nothing was concrete, right? When, where, none of it was concrete. But I knew it was something I wanted to do. I didn't allow myself to get bogged down by not knowing how I was going to make it happen, not having a plan for when it should happen, what could I afford, what would I have to leave behind and shut down in New York, were there loose ends I was not going to be able to tie up, or at least I couldn't figure out how to tie up. I didn't think about any of that, right? Because that takes your energy away from what you really should be focusing on, which is what you desire, whether you have a plan for it or not. What do you want? It is the question I ask the most. And if you can practice freeing yourself from asking the question, what do I want? And then immediately moving to laying out a plan to get it, you will find that life feels more fruitful. You will find that life is not such a heavy lift for you at every turn. You will also find that your capacity to dream big is small compared to what the universe can contribute. Just think about your peripheral vision and all the gems that are floating around that are near you because of what you're focused on. I want you to be clear about that. The universe has an endless amount of supports, capabilities, possibilities, opportunities, gems. The universe has we can't count it, endless. But those particles that come close to you and float around you to be at your disposal, those things come because you are attracting those things with what you're focused on. So if you're focused on the relationship that's not working, if you're focused on an employer that is not aligned with who you are, or who doesn't respect you, or if you're focused on the car that you have that is really kind of old and maybe falling down, or the license, the driver's license you do not have, or the passport that's about to expire, or what's in the news, if your focus, your thinking is about those things, components related to those things are going to be what's floating around you. And then when you look around for help, when you look around for ideas, when you look around for support and for nourishment, you're not going to like what's there because your focus has attracted components and elements to things that you actually don't want to be bothered with. So I'm very well aware that there are many things happening in the world, many things happening in your family, in your neighborhood, in your body, in your mind. I'm aware. What I'm suggesting, demanding, what I'm suggesting is that you make time every day, multiple times a day, to just freely focus on what you desire, regardless of whether or not you have a plan to get it. Just freely focus on what you desire. And then notice, and you won't be able to avoid it, what cooperative components are floating around and at your disposal, because those will be the things you want and you need to make the things you desire come to life, materialize right in front of you, manifest. That's a word we love to use, but I don't think we fully always understand what that means. So I'm going to leave you with that. That was a lot to chew on. If you didn't get it, go back, watch again. Leave a comment below. Tell me what else you want me to chime in on. And feel free to email me with questions at hello@AbandonOrdinary.Life. Hello@AbandonOrdinary.Life. And I'll be sure to come here and talk about it. So not only you can get some thoughts that could be helpful, but we can share it with everybody. Okay? Abandon Ordinary.